Hello, everyone, and welcome to May training. We're going to talk about expectations this month. This is a topic that every person finds challenging at times, right? We all have expectations of ourselves, also expectations of others, right? And I want to look into that today with you. I want to talk about specifically what types of expectations there are that we deal with on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and so forth. And I also want to deep dive into what are some strategies and things to keep in mind when it comes to dealing with expectations, right? Because as much as expectations can be positive, definitely, absolutely, so they can be also something negative, something that drains us, something that essentially makes us behave not according to who we are, right? And more we live according to certain unrealistic or unfair expectations, and more we are getting further from core ourselves, from our authentic self, less we're going to be actually satisfied and fulfilled in our lives, right? So let's think about in general, first and foremost, like, how do we build expectations, right? If you think about your life, expectation as you go through your life, right? You build different expectations through your experiences and through people who surround you, right? Each person that you meet or every experience that you go through in your life builds you in this way or another, right? It becomes a part of you. It's something that you learn from, something that changes you in this way or another, even the smallest change, right? But you're never, there's one nice quote that I read in one of the books. I can't really remember now what, but it says that every moment makes you a bit different, right? Because we are continuously evolving, we are continuously changing, we're continuously developing and growing, right? So anyway, different people in your life had different expectations or maybe have different expectations. For example, your parents, your husband, your wife, your kid, your teachers back in the day, your friends, right? All these people build you who you are. And because of them, you obviously set the different expectations on yourself, on others, and so on, right? The same goes with experiences. For example, traveling can change and build different expectations of yours. Your job, again, can do the same. The sports that you're doing every day. So essentially, expectations, again, are built based on your experiences and also people that surround you, right? So let's look into different types of expectations. So first, expectation, I see I wrote expect, okay, sorry for the typo. So the first expectation that is the most common one, obviously, and one that we live with continuously is the expectation you have of yourself, right? And we can be very mean to ourselves, right? We can be our best friends, but we can also be our worst enemies. So it is very important to understand what is happening, right? Like, how is it you're basically talking to yourself, and are you being your critique? But not only from, you can kind of be critique from a positive point of view, right? That you want to develop, you want to become better and so on. Or is it critique from a negative standpoint, right? So first strategy to keep in mind when it comes to expectations of yourself is think about, right, the idea of being perfect is just like, what is that, right? Is this idea of seeking perfection? And then when I ask, for example, a person, what does perfect mean to you? They're like, I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that, right? There is no perfect. What is perfect? Think about that. There is always more to whatever you are, whatever you have, whatever you achieve. There is always more and more and more and more, right? So we need to keep in mind this healthy balance between wanting to improve, grow, but also be behind this unhealthy idea of it all needs to be perfect. I need to be perfect. I'm afraid what others might think. I'm not good enough, right? Forget the idea of being perfect. What does even that mean? Okay. Question how realistic your expectations actually are, right? Are you being fair to yourself? Are the expectations that you set for yourself actually, like, can you actually even achieve them? Because very often we set certain completely unrealistic expectations of ourselves, and then we feel discouraged to even work on them because you think like, I'm not going to anyway be able to achieve that. So what happens is that you're falling deeper and deeper into this hole. You're not good enough. You cannot do it. You are a failure, and whatever negative thought it might be. So review your expectations and see, are these realistic, right? Am I being clearly challenging to myself, but at the same time kind and realistic that can actually happen? Okay. Challenge your self-talk. This is what I mentioned before. Are you kind? Are you critical? How is it you're talking to yourself every day? Become aware of your self-talk, right? Self-talk is an ongoing talk in our heads, right? You want it to be empowering, not something that makes you feel bad, but something that gives you excitement and will, and you feel good about it, something that is really empowering rather than draining, all right? Allow yourself space for making mistakes, right? I love to review it, and you have probably seen me writing that many, many times around and saying this many times, but I like to see it this way. As long as you learn and as long as you use those learnings when moving forward, there are no real mistakes, right? Every mistake, right, that we think it's a mistake is actually space for you to further develop and grow, become better. Right? So don't be afraid of those. You need them, because without them, you won't have enough space again to evolve, become better, develop, and so on. Okay? Clarify who you wish to become, right? Who you wish to become, who you wish to become in 10 days, who you wish to become in 10 years, 50 years, anytime. What do you want other people to talk when they mention you, right? Think about who you wish to become, set goals according to that, and according to that also set different expectations, right? Again, we want to make sure that these goals are smart, right? Specific, measurable, achievable, smart, realistic, and timely possible, right? So realistic, fair, kind, this is the space that you should be coming from when setting any kind of expectations towards anyone, including yourself, of course. All right. Then we have expectations you have of others. Okay, so a very important thing here is recognizing that these are your expectations. All right. And what I mean by that is what works for you or what you expect from someone doesn't make it that it has to happen or that it's a reality, neither that it's potentially fair towards someone, right? So again, recognize these are your expectation. The person, like if you have a certain expectation, that does not mean that that person or whoever, your team, whatever, needs to live up to those. And this is exactly related to this other question that I put here, right? Is that person capable of living up to what you might expect, right? You need to clarify this with yourself. Again, is this realistic? Am I being, like, from what point of view am I coming from, right? Where is this expectation even coming from, right? So you can, for example, go back into your, reflect a bit on the past, think about, challenge yourself about the idea, how did I even come up with this type of expectation? Where is this coming from? And then digging a bit deeper to understand why, right? The why behind what makes you expect this from someone, all right? Be open to making compromises, right? Meeting in the middle. How can you, your expectation and somebody else's expectations, how you can meet somewhere in the middle. All right. Don't judge, be open to understanding different views, right? Very, very important. Instead of kind of having different kinds of judgments or ideas, listen to what the other person is saying, communicate with each other, be open, be straightforward, talk about why you think this should be, why they think that should be, right? And have a constructive conversation to come up with expectations that are suitable to both of you. The idea is to make a win-win rather than I'm right, you're wrong, or vice versa, all right? And respect their values and standards. Don't try to change them. And what I mean that, for example, oftentimes we see that in relationships. Let's take, for example, a romantic relationship. You start dating someone, everything is nice and beautiful, and then you see maybe that there is something you don't really like, and you start changing them, but not from a point of view where you're kind of together changing and developing and compromising and are all this, but you potentially try to change the core person, right? if you change the core person, firstly, that's not going to be the same person anymore that you fell in love with, right? And secondly, sooner or later, that person will start feeling like, you know, like they aren't free, essentially, right? And the same goes. So don't try to change, right? Work on developing and growing and compromising and again, finding this win-win rather than, again, trying to switch someone and make them be, or try to make them be someone that they aren't, essentially. Expectations others have of you. Now, just as we want to recognize that your expectations of others are your expectations, so do we need to recognize that someone else's expectations are their expectations, right? That again doesn't mean that whatever they might expect from you is something that you should follow, essentially, right? And a lot of times these expectations that others have of us can be very heavy on us, you know, and oftentimes you probably, let's say, have that friend who became a lawyer, for example, just because the whole family is in law and they were expected to become a lawyer as well, right? Even though that person might not be very happy in that position at all, right? So again, it's very important to understand that what someone expects from you doesn't mean that you need to blindly follow, right? So again, just as we talked about before, making compromises, this is also where making compromises comes in place, but not on the cost of not sticking with your true values and standards, right? And sometimes that can be very uncomfortable, right? Setting boundaries, being firm with your decisions. Again, every decision that you make is essentially your decision. Nobody can make you do something unless you decide to actually do it. All right. And then communicate, talk to each other. Again, just like before, communication is based for any solid relationship or anything really. It's so super important. So talk to each other or offer other options. If you don't agree with someone, explain why you don't agree with them. Think about, again, how can you find the middle ground? How can you meet each other somewhere in between? And again, to potentially, you know, to find the way to make everyone happy or at least satisfied. All right. And then we have, this is a funny one, expectations you think that others have of you, right? So many times I see and hear, and I think we're all guilty of that. It's like, oh, but I think they will want this or that. Don't assume. Don't assume. Instead of assuming, clarify. Be sure about it. It's better to ask 10 times than to assume wrongly, right? So clarify, talk to that person, speak up, right? What I said here, share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your ideas, share your options, share whatever, right? Rather than kind of sticking in your own head, overthinking, worrying, what if this, what if that, okay? Gain new perspectives, be open to listening, be open to understanding what they, they might have in their minds, and challenge yourself again to see where are these thoughts or these thoughts that you think somebody might assume something, or expect something from you. Where is that coming from? All right. Again, reflect on different experiences, reflect on different people that surround you in your life, and then think, where are these assumptions and these expectations coming from again? So I hope this was helpful. Let me know what you think. I'm very curious to hear, obviously, your thoughts, your ideas. Feel free to share below. And as always, I'll talk to you very soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.